Inside the Magic, show number 341 for October 16th, 2011. It is Sunday, October 16th, 2011. This is show 341 of Inside the Magic, and as always, I'm your host, Ricky Briganti. Got another great show packed with Disney and plenty of theme park news and a whole lot more fun. And before we get started, I do invite you, as always, to visit InsideTheMagic.net. There you'll find all of our podcast videos, photos, news, articles, and so much more. And if you ever have any news, tips, questions, or anything else you want to say, you can always write to me at ricky@InsideTheMagic.net, or you can call and leave a message at 407-494-4ITM. That's 4486. And now, let's get on with the show. This week's episode of Inside the Magic is brought to you by Magical Travel. The Disney Cruise Line is closer than ever with sailings to New York, Galveston, and Los Angeles. So book your Disney cruise vacation today for the best pricing and availability. You're going to want to call Magical Travel at 866-207-8387 or visit them online at magicaltravel.com to receive a free price quote. And be sure to mention Inside the Magic to receive your free Disney gift card for qualifying bookings when you book your Disney vacation with Magical Travel. And by Audible, get a free audiobook download at audibletrial.com/InsideTheMagic, along with a trial to access over 85,000 titles to choose from for your iPod or MP3 player. And thanks very much to listeners like you for donations, monthly donations, single donations, clicking through any of our affiliate links over at the website. It all supports the show, and I thank you very much for that. And now let's start off the show with our trip around the world. So, welcome to all of you longtime listeners, welcome to new listeners, welcome to our viewers over on YouTube, and everybody in the chat room and on the live stream as well. We've been consistently recording live shows on Sundays, for those of you who don't know, over at InsideTheMagic.net/live. So if you ever want to tune in and watch me record this show every Sunday, usually about 2 or 3 o'clock or so Eastern Time, you can do that over on the website. And with that said, I also want to mention, once again, it's been going on for about a week now or so, that we are nominated in the 2011 Podcast Awards. Thanks again very much to those of you who submitted Inside the Magic for nominations. We did end up getting a nomination for Best Produced Podcast as well as Best Travel Podcast. And now is the crucial time where it is your opportunity to vote for us. Show your support to Inside the Magic between now, every single day, and October 27th is when the voting is wrapping up. You can vote once per day in each of the categories, and we'll see what we can do about getting a win, but just the nomination is a wonderful thing, but, of course a win would be nice. So all of it's at podcastawards.com. Thanks very much. So with all of that said, how about we jump into some Disney news this week, of which there was not a whole lot, but definitely some really exciting news of what there was. And first up, in the world of resorts, out here at Walt Disney World Resort, some hotels, specifically Disney's Art of Animation Resort, some announcements were made this week. Most importantly, the opening of Art of Animation Resort has been announced to, it's actually going to open in phases, which is a new detail. The first phase is going to open beginning May 31st of 2012, so less than a year from now. The first part of Art of Animation, which is right across from Pop Century, it's actually taking over the unbuilt portion of Pop Century, and there, the very first wing on May 31st that's going to open is the Finding Nemo wing. Now, this wing, there's actually going to be 4 wings of the hotel. Each is going to be themed to a different Disney film, Finding Nemo being the first to open. It will feature only family suites in this wing of the hotel. Of course, plenty of Finding Nemo decorations on the outside and inside of the buildings, and Disney shared a little bit of a look of kind of the ongoing construction and decorations of this new resort. The family suites that'll be part of this wing will include a bedroom, living room, and other usable space. And then, it's one of those new kind of concepts. Well, maybe not a new concept, but something that Disney has been really emphasizing lately, that this whole notion of the family suite, that you can have more usable space to enjoy instead of just being confined in having an entire family in one room. You can kind of spread out and enjoy a little bit more. So following the Finding Nemo wing of the Art of Animation Resort, the Cars wing is going to be the second one to open up, and that's going to be in late July of 2012. So not that much longer, just a couple of months after the Finding Nemo wing is when the Cars area will open. Then the Lion King wing is going to open in September 2012, so just a couple of months after that. And all three of those wings are going to feature those family suites only. There's going to be 1,120 family suites total across the entire resort. And then finally, the Little Mermaid wing is going to be the last one to open toward the end of 2012, so a couple of months later again. And that's the wing of the hotel that's going to have the standard guest rooms, the single rooms with a bathroom, obviously, 864 of those. Then, backtracking here a little bit, the Finding Nemo wing is going to feature a fairly massive big blue pool, as they're calling it. It's going to be one of Disney's largest pools in a resort that they've ever built, 12,000 square feet or so, just under 12,000 square feet, actually. And in addition to the pool itself, there's also going to be a dry play area that's going to be called Squirt's Righteous Reef, and of course it'll feature plenty of Finding Nemo characters. In addition to that pool for the Finding Nemo area, the Art of Animation Resort is also going to have a total of 3 pools along with the children's water play area. So plenty to offer when this new value resort opens beginning in on May 31st of 2012. And speaking of resorts, here's some pretty big news that should get a lot of visitors to Walt Disney World excited. You no longer have to pay for your wireless in-room internet at most of the Walt Disney World Resort hotels. It is now free to connect to the internet in the following hotels at Walt Disney World: Animal Kingdom Lodge, Beach Club, Boardwalk, Contemporary, Coronado Springs, Grand Floridian, Old Key West, Polynesian, Saratoga Springs, Wilderness Lodge, and the Yacht Club. So it's something that they've done for quite a while now out at Disneyland. The Grand Californian Disneyland Hotel had Wi-Fi and wired just for free, and now finally it has made its way out here to Walt Disney World. I haven't had a chance to actually test the Wi-Fi in the rooms yet. Don't know how fast or how slow it might be, but I have used the Contemporary Wi-Fi in sort of the public areas before, and it seemed reasonably fast at the time. We'll see what happens when many guests are all trying to connect at the same time, but hopefully it will work out well. Notably absent from that list are the value resorts, Pop Century, All Star. So unclear as to the future of Wi-Fi in those hotels. We'll just have to wait and see if those show up as well, or if you have to pay for internet there in the future. Let's related to the hotels, of course, transportation is the monorail, a great way to get around the monorail loop hotels. And a couple of months ago, I think it was back in August, Disney had made some changes to how the monorails were operating at night, that the monorail system would be shutting down 1 hour after the park closing. So let's say Epcot closes at 9, you'd only be able to access the monorail to Epcot, or from Epcot, leaving, coming, going, whatever, up to an hour afterward. Well, now Disney has realized that has posed a pretty serious issue when it comes to after-hours hard-ticketed parties like Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party. You get guests staying all the way until midnight, but actual regular park closing was much earlier at like 7 p.m., and so the monorail system was shut down long before everybody was leaving that party, and everybody had to get either jump on the ferry or jump on the buses, and it created very long lines and kind of a headache. Well, now Disney has made some modifications to that new policy. On event nights, the monorails actually will continue to run until 12:30 a.m. Now, the rest of the nights, non-event nights, it'll still be 1 hour after park closing, and in Epcot as well. But at least on the event nights, you'll have an opportunity to leave, let's say, Mickey's Not So Scary or the Very Merry Christmas Party, and actually be able to hop on the monorail, which is definitely a good move on Disney's part. And more about monorails, I just got word from somebody today that Monorail Peach is now in existence. It is out, it is on the beam, it is in full operation as of today, as of just a few hours ago. So Disney's full fleet of 12 monorails is now active once again, and you know, I've seen Monorail Peach out there on the beam already, and it's kind of not the prettiest color in the world. The peach color that they chose for the stripe along the monorail almost resembles a flesh tone, but you know, it's another monorail, so having a full fleet of monorails once again is a good thing. And over at Disney's Hollywood Studios this week, there was an interesting test that was going on for just a couple of days. It was a sort of interactive character-ish called Cubot. And it was basically, if you think of child's blocks that are 3 stacked on top of each other, and you spin them around, and on each of the 4 sides there are different heads and torsos and feet for like a cowboy and a princess and other things, and you can kind of mix and match them and make either, top, middle, and bottom that made sense, or different combinations that don't make any sense. Anyway, it was a large version of that, maybe 4 feet tall, that would move around and had 4 different voices depending on how the pieces would align, and children could come up and move the pieces and make the different voices and interact with them and talk back and forth, kind of like a new version of Push the Trash Can. Well, anyway, it was a test going on at Disney's Hollywood Studios for just a couple of days before that interactive character was to be sent, which I assume it's on its way now, to Hong Kong Disneyland for the new Toy Story Land, which I think it will fit in rather well there. It was a bit of an odd character, but maybe it'll fit in a little better over in Hong Kong than it did roaming in Hollywood Studios. So here's another big change. We were talking about Wi-Fi. We were talking about the monorails. Well, here's another big change in the world of Disney dining that took place this week. Walt Disney World restaurants are now going to be requiring and enforcing a credit card guarantee for their signature and character dining, and guests will be charged $10 per person if reservations are not canceled more than 24 hours before the reserved time. That means if you go online and you book every restaurant across property just in the hopes of, well, I don't know where I want to eat, so I'm going to come on vacation and I'll just pick the one I want to go to and never cancel. Well, they're trying to cut back on that, and all these restaurants filling up with bogus no-show reservations, that is, by now charging $10 per person, as I said. Actually, it's going to start on October 26th, and it's going to apply at the following restaurants from Walt Disney World Resort Hotels. It'll be 1900 Park Fair, Artist Point, California Grill, Cape May Cafe, Chef Mickey, Citricos, Flying Fish Cafe, Jico, Narcoossee's, Ohana, Yachtsman Steakhouse, and Victoria and Albert's, which is going to have a $25 per person fee. And over at the Magic Kingdom, it's going to apply to the Crystal Palace. At Epcot, it's going to apply to the restaurant over in Norway that I can never pronounce correctly. Anyway, the Garden Grill, Le Cellier, and Disney's Hollywood Studios, it's Hollywood Brown Derby, and Hollywood and Vine, and Animal Kingdom, the Tusker House restaurant. So all of those are going to be under this new policy, which I think is a very good thing, because as a local, I have a very hard time getting a reservation for any of Disney's restaurants all the time, because they get booked up by all these tourists that are coming and don't know where they want to eat, and they just get booked up. I mean, sit there and click. Okay, now I have 10 reservations for the same time at the same night, and then they only expect to go to one. So hopefully it will work out for the better, and there won't be too many complaints of these $10 per person charges. There is a new phone number, 407-WDW-CNCL, which stands for cancel, specifically for canceling your reservation. So Disney's trying to make it as easy as possible to not only make reservations, but also get rid of those and free them up for other people to enjoy. Again, all of that's beginning October 26th, 10 days from now. Let's talk Universal Orlando for just a quick moment here, where, of course, my favorite event of the year, Halloween Horror Nights, continues to go on, and I continue to visit it on a regular basis. And when I was there just a couple of days ago, I spotted something brand new for Horror Nights this year, a new sort of mini scare zone-ish thing near the front of the park, along with a photo op that Universal seemed to have realized that Lady Luck, the icon for this year, really wasn't in the park all that much, and people wanted to take a picture with her, and now you can, with her big roulette wheel of death, if you will, near the front of the park. And then in the meantime, you're also getting scared by chainsaw minions of hers. So I've posted some pictures of that over on our Flickr album, as well as a couple of new videos from that zone, and a couple of the Death Drums show, the various the variations of that. So yeah, if you're a Horror Nights fan, check all of that out on our YouTube channel and over in our photo galleries. Now back to the topic of Disney, but away from the theme parks, actually to Disney Cruise Line, where some fun news that came out this week that I'm looking forward to seeing, hopefully, near the beginning of next year. The Disney Dream cruise ship, of course, I talked extensively about it at the beginning of this year, and my favorite aspect of that ship easily was the Aqueduct water coaster, first of its kind ride out at sea. Well, now Disney realizes the popularity of the Aqueduct and is extending that concept even further on the upcoming Disney Fantasy ship with a new water play area called the Aqua Lab. It's going to be located on Deck 12 of the Disney Fantasy ship outside the entrance of the Aqueduct water coaster, and it's going to feature leaking walls, pop jets, geysers, and bubblers. It's going to take up about 1,800 square feet, and it will continue the theme of Donald Duck and his nephews Huey, Dewey, and Louie, and in this case they're working with water experiments. You can go in there and turn wheels and move levers and get all wet, and there's a leaky wall that you're supposed to try to patch up and keep water circulating by covering the holes and avoid being just completely soaked, or just get soaked, because that's kind of the point. So that looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. In addition, on Deck 12 forward, there's going to be a new wading pool and water fountain water feature that was not on the Disney Dream. Of course, the Fantasy is very similar to the Dream, which is why Disney's trying to make an effort of changing a few elements up here and there to make it its own ship. And in addition, on Deck 13, the adults-only area of the Disney Fantasy is going to be expanded. On the Dream, there was only the Quiet Cove pool and the Cove Bar, which is a fairly small area. So now on Deck 13 of the Fantasy, there's also going to be the Satellite Sun Deck, featuring a new water feature called Satellite Falls. And this is going to be a circular splash pool with benches and a gently falling rain curtain, as Disney puts it. So another water feature for adults to enjoy aboard the Fantasy, which is making its maiden voyage at the end of March 2012. Let's turn to the world of movies now, where the on and off movie The Lone Ranger is on once again with a new release date. Actually, Disney has set the new release date for The Lone Ranger as May 31st, 2013. So quite a while from now. The film is still set to star Johnny Depp as Tonto, and the title character of The Lone Ranger will be played by Armie Hammer, and so we'll have to see if the film continues now as scheduled for 2013. And Cars 2 is coming out for home enjoyment pretty soon. November 1st is the release date for that film on Blu-ray, Blu-ray 3D, DVD, and movie download. Some news about the upcoming Muppets movie was released this week. That's pretty fun. The soundtrack of the film is going to be coming out 2 days before the film itself. It's going to be released on November 31st, and it's going to feature 30 tracks of Muppetational hilarity, one of which is going to be the Muppet Barbershop Quartet singing Nirvana's famous Smells Like Teen Spirit song, and even former Nirvana drummer and current Foo Fighters frontman Dave Grohl will be making a cameo appearance backing the group up on drums, and that should definitely be a treat. I'm a big Nirvana fan and the Foo Fighters, so that will be awesome to see him working with the Muppets. Also on the album and in the movie will be Camilla and the Chickens doing a family-friendly version of CeeLo Green's Forget You, and as well as covers of Paul Simon's Me and Julio Down by the Schoolyard and Starships We Built This City. So definitely some fun Muppet stuff to look forward to. Inside the Magic listener Rick alerted me to an upcoming Academy event in Los Angeles, in which it's going to be Mary Blair's World of Color, a centennial tribute featuring Pete Docter, Michael Giamo, Eric Goldberg, Susan Goldberg, and some others. It is sold out, unfortunately, but if you're interested in seeing it, it's on October 20th. There is going to be a standby line the day of the event, starting at approximately 6:30 is when they're going to be giving out numbers for that. The event itself starts at 7:30. It all takes place at the Samuel Goldwyn Theater in Beverly Hills, California. Here's an announcement that came out of this weekend's New York Comic Con, coming up next month in November in the Marvel universe of comics, which of course Disney now owns. The characters of Prep and Landing are going to be making their way into some 8-page stories, also featuring the Avengers, Marvel Adventures, Spider-Man, and Marvel superheroes. So kind of a crossover between Disney and Marvel. The integration has begun. Actually began quite a while ago, but even more Disney/Marvel possible, integration to come where we see some familiar characters from both worlds existing together. And, I think over time, Marvel is going to feel more and more Disney as we see this kind of thing. And finally, how about some Disney Channel news that's kind of interesting? A pilot has been given the green light for Disney Channel called Zombies and Cheerleaders. It's a new series. It's going to be a kind of a music-based series set in a high school. No surprise there, but this time the twist is that the lead character, Zed Necrodopoulos, is a zombie, and he's not popular with the school's cheerleaders. And, it almost sounds to me like it's Disney playing off of Mattel's Monster High line. Who knows if this is going to be a decent show or not, but it sounds kind of, sort of, maybe interesting. Might tune in, maybe not. I don't know. You can check it out for yourself, though, soon on the Disney Channel. And that is it for your news from around the world this week. And today's tip comes from Maggie, who writes, I came up with this tip during my recent stay at Walt Disney World. My family was staying there for a week, and every day we went to the parks for at least 5 hours and usually stayed for about 9 to 10 hours. Since we were in the parks so long, we had to bring a lot of stuff in really big backpacks. Well, I guess Disney doesn't realize how big a backpack can get and how small their backpack pouches are in a lot of their ride vehicles. So no matter how big I pushed the backpack or how much I pushed the backpack, it would never fit into the little pouch. So I ended up putting my backpack on the floor and slid my legs through the straps. The backpack barely moved at all on the Tower of Terror, Rock and Roller Coaster, and Space Mountain. I hope this helps for people like myself whose backpacks do not have a good relationship with the small pouches. Maggie, good tip. Definitely, you can't necessarily bring a backpack on every single ride, but the ones that you can, and you need to hang on to it. Putting your legs through the straps of the backpack is a great idea. That way, you're pretty sure that it's not going to go anywhere. Although, really, even on something like Rock and Roller Coaster, despite the fact that you go upside down, the forces are actually pushing you and your items into the car rather than away from it. So, really, it should stay there. But just to be safe, it's a good idea to put your legs through the straps, and that way you are safe. Everyone else out there, email your tips into tips@insidethemagic.net. So now let's talk a little bit about Halloween in the world of Disney, but not out here in Orlando, as I already have quite extensively after talking about, Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party and the Trick or Meetup that the Disney Parks blog put on, and even the Room for One More Haunted Mansion event. No, we're going to jump coast out to California. Now, I'm not going out to California for Halloween this year, but we do have regular Inside the Magic reporter Jeremiah Dawes out there in California, and he had a chance just a few days ago to talk with some of the lead people from Disney who are in charge in making over the Disneyland Resort into Halloween time. And so I want to share a bit of those conversations for you right now. Pretty interesting stuff. First, Jeremiah talks to Jennifer Bellman, who's the manager of Disneyland Entertainment Operations. And here is his conversation, actually standing right in front of the Haunted Mansion.
Talking about Halloween time at Disneyland.
It's a great time of year. Are you guys ready for Halloween?
Yes, very much so. It looks like Mickey is.
Oh, Mickey, you have a great time this time of year, don't you? He loves to dress up. He throws parties here at the resort at night. A lot of great stuff. In fact, have you been to Mickey's Halloween party yet?
I have. It's really amazing.
I know. It's so much fun. I brought my kids I think it was last week, the first night, Mickey, to your party. We had a great time. We came with huge bags of candy. You were wonderful in the cavalcade, too, my friend. And plus Screams. Did you see Screams?
I did, yes.
Yeah?
It's amazing. So tell us what's new this year. What is something specific that people that come all the time, what can they see new?
Well, let me think. I think one of my favorite new things is something right here in the Haunted Mansion. Have you been through yet?
Yes.
There's a brand new gingerbread house this year, and it's unique. It's better than anything I've ever seen them do before, because it's like a gingerbread house monster. So it transforms right before your eyes on the attraction, so it seems to split into this great huge mouth. There's a purple and green tongue inside that wags at you. A lot of fun.
Cool, cool. Can you tell us about like the special characters that might not normally be in the parks, but are in the parks during Halloween time?
Well, you know, Halloween time is a chance to get in touch with your inner villain, right? So for me, that happens to be Cruella de Vil, or perhaps the Evil Queen. They have some opportunities to meet our guests here up at Small World Mall, so you can get your picture taken with the villain. So it's a lot of chances to see those types of characters here, right, Mickey? Yes, and you, of course, are not a villain at all.
Cool. Can you compare what you might see at the Halloween party in Orlando versus Anaheim? Because a lot of our viewers are kind of go to both parks. Yeah.
You know, I think there's a lot of similarities. I think here at Disneyland, we focus even more on the trick-or-treating aspect. That seems to be something that our guests on this coast really love to come and do. So the treat stations are all over the place. They are grouped together in a lot, so you go through treat trails, which is a lot of fun. We have dance parties that happen here. Our cavalcade is a little bit different. And of course the fireworks show here, which happens to be Screams, is different as well. So there is a lot of similarities, at the same time, little nuances that are different.
Cool. And so how many more parties do we have between now and the end of the Halloween season?
Oh, that's a great question. I think we've got 2 down now, and we have 8 more to go.
Okay.
So I think there's one tonight that's happening. And are you excited about that one, Mick? I think so. And then we have the 8 more to go.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much.
It's awesome. Have fun. Good job, Mick.
So that was Jennifer Bellman, as I said, manager of Disneyland Entertainment Operations, talking a bit about Halloween time at Disneyland. But that is certainly not everything for Halloween time at Disneyland. So we wanted to learn a little bit more, and also spoke to Dave Caranci, who is the manager of Disneyland Resort Enhancement. Now the difference there is a little bit subtle between entertainment operations and enhancement. And what enhancement means is Dave's actually in charge of kind of the overlay of the park, of putting the pumpkins on Main Street and Haunted Mansion Holiday into the Haunted Mansion and things in Frontierland. And well, you know what? I'm just going to let Jeremiah and Dave tell you all about it.
Tell us about what you do here at the parks.
Well, I have the best job in the world. I'm going to let you know right now. My team actually is the decorating department, resort enhancement, and it's our job to come through the park and assist with things like the Halloween overlay, the Christmas overlays, the props and the sets that you see. It really is a magical job we've got.
Awesome. So when do you start planning for Halloween time?
Yesterday. We actually start, while it's up this year, we're already planning for next year.
Wow.
And we'll actually start production about May. So we'll go into full fabrication of all the pumpkins on Main Street and the banners and the bunting and all that cool stuff that you see, while other teams like Entertainment Tech Services are working on the Haunted Mansion overlays and the ranch area where they've got all those great pumpkins. So it's hundreds of people working year-round on this stuff.
Right. Well, so tell me about the mansion. How long does it take to get everything in? Is it a big deal every year, or is it as simple as like you go up to your attic and you pull it all down?
Oh, well, it's a little bigger than the attic, but the Go shut the gates somewhere about a month before, 3 weeks before, and it remains locked up tight until they're done. We've got 999 happy haunts, as you know, and
Nice.
It takes all 999 of them to put this together. But it's a team of amazing artisans, technical people, lighting people to bring a whole new show every year to life inside the mansion versus the traditional show that we see every day.
Right, right. So what is new this year that's specific to the Haunted Mansion that hasn't been there at all this?
You know what? I just can't tell you. You got to come and see it.
All right.
That way it makes people come back every year, right?
Awesome, awesome.
And there he was. That was Dave Caranci only hinting at some new additions for Haunted Mansion Holiday this year. Of course, Jennifer had already mentioned one of them, which was the gingerbread house. And if you want to see what that really amazing gingerbread house looks like this year in Haunted Mansion Holiday, then you're going to want to head over to InsideTheMagic.net or check our YouTube video, where we have this great video that Disney provided us with, shot on the ballroom floor of the Haunted Mansion. Just a great up-close look of the new gingerbread house, animated, opening its mouth, wagging little tail inside, rather the tongue, not the tail, and yeah, so it's a lot of fun. Of course, you haven't seen Haunted Mansion Holiday before, or the Halloween Screams fireworks show, you really need to get out to Disneyland to check it out, because they do Halloween experience very well. It is quite a different experience than what is out here for Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party. There are similarities, of course, trick-or-treating and characters, but it's an overall different feel, and really, just for me, the highlight is Haunted Mansion Holiday, which I absolutely love. So, of course, Jennifer, we had spoken to her, or Jeremiah spoke to her last week, actually, so when she said there were, I think she said 8 more nights, that's not quite right anymore, because a couple of more Halloween parties have already happened, so it's less than 8 now. I actually didn't look at the calendar to see how many are left, and I'm guessing probably only 5 or 6 left for the rest of the month, so you're going to want to check Disneyland's official Halloween time calendar online. Check the Disneyland website in order to find out exactly when you can attend this after-hours hard-ticketed event at Disneyland.
Inside the Magic DVD review.
And that music ought to clue you in as to what DVD I am about to talk about. It should be fairly obvious at this point that it is Pirates of the Caribbean, the latest film, number 4 on Stranger Tides. It's coming out this coming Tuesday on Blu-ray, 3D on DVD, movie download, all that kind of good stuff. And I got a review copy, as I have been doing quite often lately, which is wonderful for giving me a chance to talk about it a bit here before you get your hands on it, make you or let you help decide whether or not you want to grab a hold of this one. So I did have a chance. I had seen Pirates on Stranger Tides in 3D in theaters, and I did a review of that a few months ago when it came out. Really loved the film. Thought it looked pretty good in 3D. It wasn't totally necessary, but the 3D looked good. I'm not going to review the film itself again here, but rather the release of the film, this new release, and decide whether or not it is worth it for you to pick it up based on bonus features and all that kind of thing. And a lot of these Disney 3D releases, or all of them actually, have this great lenticular 3D cover, which is nice to have some sort of a little collectible addition to what you're able to get when you buy it. Not only do you get the movie itself with a whole bunch of discs, but you also get the cover that kind of has some depth to it, which is fun if you're a big Pirates fan. It's like the movie poster, but in 3D, so that's pretty cool to get. But moving on from there, I did check out the 3D Blu-ray version on a big HD TV, and I thought it looked pretty good. There's a lot of dark scenes in this Pirates film, and there was a surprisingly good depth to even the darkness of those scenes. It didn't get grainy. It stayed sharp and crisp and clear, and definitely very nice high definition throughout the whole film. Of course, the bright scenes and outdoors in the jungle and on the around the oceans were beautiful, vibrant colors, and then in the darker areas, it still stayed true and clear. And it was really odd though, because seeing it in theaters, I got a feeling like I was seeing just any other movie. It looked good. It was 3D and a little bit darker because of the glasses, like I always say, but it looked pretty good. But when I started watching it at home on this new version, I almost felt like it's hard to describe what I'm trying to say here. I felt like the motion of the film was too smooth, and it could be because of the frame rate that I was watching it at, that the film is released at on this Blu-ray. I felt like rather than the 24 frames per second that I'm used to watching film at, giving that really filmic quality to it, that's kind of hard to describe, but you know it when you see it. This film is full frame rate in order to accommodate the 3D. It's 30 frames per second for each eye, 60 frames per second really, and because of that, the movement is so smooth that it almost feels a little surreal, like almost too real maybe. It didn't feel like a movie so much as I don't know. It's really hard to describe what I'm talking about. You just have to see it for yourself and see if you pick out what I was seeing as well. Like when watching, just something as simple as Jack Sparrow walking across the screen, the motion was so smooth that it seemed almost like, I don't want to say a home video, but it seemed almost sort of television-y rather than film. I don't know. It's really tough to say. But regardless, it still looked very good, and I did enjoy the film itself. Of course, it is a high-definition 1080p Blu-ray transfer, so I don't see any reason why the film wouldn't look good. at all. Also on the disc are a couple of 3D trailers. There's Cars 2, which has been on the last few Blu-ray releases that I've talked about. But new on this one is a 3D trailer for John Carter. Now, I had seen this footage already when I was at the D23 Expo back in August, but I hadn't seen it in 3D. They didn't do 3D during the Walt Disney Studios presentation, so this was the first time I'd seen anything from John Carter in 3D, and I will say that the 3D looked really excellent. Probably some of the best 3D that I've seen for live action since Avatar. With that said, I'm still not excited about the movie itself, John Carter. It just doesn't look all that great. That aside, the trailer itself on this Pirates release looks very good. The bonus features that are included on this Pirates 4 release are very, very not only informational but entertaining as well. There's on the Blu-ray disc second screen technology, which allows you to fire up an iPad or a laptop and kind of get additional artwork and information while you're watching the movie. And that's kind of, I don't know, I'm not totally sold on the second screen technology. It's a very great technology, but you kind of have to have this split attention between one device and watching the movie, and I don't know, it's kind of weird. I wish it would all just appear up on the screen. It might be easier that way. There's audio commentary, some bloopers, some Lego shorts, which are pretty fun, featuring Lego Jack Sparrow, going through some adventures through the Caribbean and in fully animated form, not in 3D, but animated. So that's kind of fun. And then there's also a separate Blu-ray bonus disc, and this is where really the meat of the bonus features are. There's deleted scenes, which are okay. They're kind of deleted and extended scenes introduced by the film's director, Rob Marshall, and those are all right. But the really good bonus features that are on there are called Legends of On Stranger Tides and In Search of the Fountain. Pretty long bonus features that are almost home movie kind of bonus feature, which I always really like, where they had actors and Jerry Bruckheimer and behind-the-scenes cameras throughout the making of the film, and you really see stuff that happened not only during the filming but between takes, and quick clips with the actors and getting into their makeup and all the CG work that went into it, which there was not surprisingly a large amount in this film. It was a much smaller budget Pirates film, which was great because there were a lot of practical effects, big fire, and huge sets. I could not believe that one of the sets that they built was a recreation of a Hawaii coastline, that because of the strong tides and the waves crashing, they weren't able to actually film in this location that they wanted to, so they completely recreated the entire environment on the Universal backlot out in California, which was unbelievable to see the actual set that they made. I never, while watching the film, would have guessed that it was not a real on-location shoot in the Hawaii area, that it was just a backlot at Universal. Pretty amazing stuff. Also, the whole Fountain of Youth set that they built for the film, pretty impressive. And they just go on and on about that in a good way. It just really a lot of wonderful behind-the-scenes footage and information about it all. And of note, you'll see a lot from production designer John Meyer, who we actually talked to back in July or I talked to at the San Diego Comic-Con, and shared that interview here on the show. So if you pick up this movie, you watch these bonus features, pay attention to when John Meyer is talking about all the production design that went into the sets, then go back to July's Comic-Con episode of Inside the Magic and hear more from John Meyer talking about Blackbeard's ship, and then you'll know who it was that I was talking to at the time, which honestly I didn't even really fully appreciate who I was sitting down with at the time. I was like, yeah, well, he's the production designer in Pirates, very cool. But after seeing this bonus feature, I fully grasped the very important role that he had in making this film. So even better that I had a chance to talk to him then. There's another bonus feature called Under the Scene, Bringing Mermaids to Life, which is a really excellent look at how I love the mermaid characters in this film. The combination of the beauty and the the creepiness. And to see how all of that was created between there were actually multiple sets of actresses. There were the close-up, the pretty faces as they said. There were the synchronized swimmers, and then there were the stunt mermaids as well. And between all of them and a bit of CGI work, it really created a pretty excellent effect in the end, and you can see how all of that came together. And then there's also a Blu-ray exclusive feature called Johnny vs. Jeffrey, of course referring to Johnny Depp and Jeffrey Rush and their interaction and that's kind of a throwaway feature. It's just some quick clips talking about the two of them and their characters of Barbossa and Jack Sparrow. Nothing too spectacular there, but overall, the bonus features that I just mentioned on this disc are great if you're a Pirates fan. Even if whether or not you really liked this fourth Pirates of the Caribbean film, I think you'll enjoy these bonus features because they do a really good job of just kind of documenting it along the way and following what was in the creation of this lower budget, but in my opinion, more entertaining Pirates film. I really enjoyed the film. Great home release. Again, it comes out this Tuesday, and I'm making it this week's featured item, so if you want to pre-order it now, it only comes out 2 days from now, but if you want to order it online, of course you can support the show by clicking through the link over in the show 341 section of InsideTheMagic.net. So there it is, Pirates of the Caribbean on Stranger Tides, coming out Tuesday on Blu-ray, Blu-ray 3D, DVD, and movie download. And before we move into our next major feature on this week's show, which I'm really excited to talk about because I've had a lot of fun the last couple of days in doing that. But before we get to that, I do want to put in a quick word about Lanyard Lab. Once again, if you need to promote anything, be it your website, your business, you are going to a convention, you need name tags, ID cards to wear around your neck. Lanyards, great way to do it. Hang these around your neck, and why not customize the lanyard while you're at it? You can put anything you want on there. We'll print it on there in your colors, your logos, your text, whatever it is. Fill out the quote form over at lanyardlab.com. That's how you submit all your information and design ideas to us. We'll put it all together for you in a price quote along with a proof showing you what the lanyards will look like, and we'll shoot all of that back to you via email. Click on the link, check it out on our website, and if everything looks good at that point, you can just order it up. It is as easy as that, and if you need any changes, we'll make those too. We'll make it very simple for you, so check it out over at lanyardlab.com.
Is it dark and creepy in here? Ow! Now, of course my flashlight would be losing battery power. Come on. I knew I should have come to this old storage locker in the daytime. What was that? Come on, Ricky. Get a grip. Now, I know I put them in here somewhere. Nope. No, not in there. Oh, wait. I think I found it. Ah, here it is. I'll just get all these gross cobwebs off. Wrapped in these old smelly newspapers. Almost there. Ah.
Oh, hey Ricky. How's it going?
Hey, Jay, dust yourself off, man. It's almost time for a Backstage pass. Halloween is coming.
What? It is? Already? Well, sure. Let me just find Mark and we'll get right on it. Coming later this month, the Halloween edition of Backstage Pass for 2011, only on Inside the Magic.
And we're definitely looking forward to hearing from Mark and Jay once again here on Inside the Magic. It's been about a year since their last Halloween episode that we've heard from them, and I haven't even heard what they're putting together this year. So I am definitely looking forward to seeing what they have in store for us. It's always an entertainment treat. And now I do want to talk about something completely different than all of that, but definitely something exciting that I think a lot of course, theme park fans and Disney fans are going to take to pretty well. I spent the last couple of days here in Central Florida, down in Winter Haven at the brand new, now open LEGOLAND Florida, something that's been under construction for quite a while now. And of course, LEGO has had a presence at Disney for a long time. They've got a partnership with Disney. They've got a LEGO store at at Downtown Disney here in Orlando, in California as well. There's, Pirates of the Caribbean Legos, a lot there. I think there's definitely a lot of crossover of fans between Lego and Disney. And of course, if you're coming to Orlando, not only for a Disney vacation, but maybe you're going to hit up Universal, maybe you're going to go to SeaWorld, go up and down International Drive. Well, now you've got another option if you want to drive about an hour away down to Winter Haven. It's south of Walt Disney World is where you're going to find the brand new LEGOLAND Florida. It's in the former location of Cypress Gardens, and Cypress Gardens never really a home to very much of a theme park type environment, a very natural sculpted landscaped environment. Had the crowd for the right entertainment for a certain crowd, but not necessarily those who want to go to, let's say, Walt Disney World, where it's a very colorful, kinetic environment. So now we've got a new theme park to enjoy, and actually it's probably a little less than an hour to get there from, if you're in the downtown Disney area. I remember I drove on Friday from the Magic Kingdom area directly to Legoland, and it took about an hour. So if you're actually right next to I-4, either if you're next to I-4 near downtown Disney, or if you're next to the 429 over by Animal Kingdom, you could probably get there in actually a little bit less than an hour. The route between Walt Disney World and or Orlando and Legoland is going to get a little rural. It's going to get a little weird at times when you're going down Highway 27. You go through about half an hour where you don't see a whole lot on the sides of the roads, other than maybe a place selling trees and another one selling tires and stuff like that. But in the meantime, then when you finally get there, you start to see a bit of civilization again, and you arrive at Legoland itself, which had its grand opening yesterday, October 15th. And actually a media preview on Friday, which is what I first attended. I spent 2 full days from 10 a.m. opening until scheduled closing on both days. And on the media preview day is when the manager and the guys in charge of Legoland got up and gave their speeches, and some characters came out and they put on a little show to introduce Legoland Florida to the media and the general public. And they even mentioned that if Legoland Florida does well, they're hoping to make it a multi-day destination eventually, featuring a water park, a hotel, and more rides. So there could be much, much more in store for everybody at Legoland Florida, but of course that's going to depend all on the success of the park that is there now. And that is what I want to talk about. The grand opening was quite a sight out in front of the park, where they have the big Legoland Florida sign. They had a stage up in front of the big welcome sign where the GM of the park, Adrian Jones, pulled a lever and triggered just an insane amount of confetti, more confetti than I have ever seen in one location, all while standing next to a giant Lego character who was dancing around, and they were blasting music, and there were hundreds of people there just waiting to get into the park. Now, ultimately, opening day perhaps didn't have quite as many people as they were anticipating. I had talked to somebody on media preview day the day before, saying they were thinking maybe around 15,000 people there. He couldn't tell me what the capacity of this park was, which is definitely a smaller park than, let's say, Disney's parks. Not small, but smaller. But anyway, they were expecting maybe somewhere around 15,000. I don't have a count or don't know how many actually showed up for opening day, but I can't imagine it was 15,000 people. It was, by my guess, and this is just totally my opinion, it felt to me while walking around like maybe somewhere around 10,000, but I could be totally wrong. So anyway, let's get to some more about the actual park itself and what you might enjoy if you're a fan of Disney's parks, if you're a fan of Universal's parks, if you're a fan of anything in Orlando, what you would take out of it in going to Legoland. And I thought the best way to really understand what is at Legoland is by talking to, well, the Legoland designer himself. His name is Bill Vollbrecht, and he calls himself the park designer. You don't get a much better title than that when talking about theme parks, and I did have a chance to chat with him on Media Preview Day right there in Legoland, and, here's what he had to say in response to my questions all about the new park. How do you approach a project like building a Legoland park? Where does the design process begin?
Fan of Lego. If you enjoy the bricks and the products, it's a natural transition to start designing the Lego parks, because everything we do starts and ends with the bricks. So if you have a true love and passion for that, then it comes natural.
Of course, there are other Legoland parks around the world. Were you involved in those projects as well? Were you influenced by those in the building of this one?
Absolutely. I started in Legoland, California as one of the model designers. I built the large sculptures for the park and was able to transition into being art director for Legoland, California. And then after doing that for about a year, they asked me to join the development team so we could start building new Legoland parks.
Excellent. So you've obviously seen the development of other parks. Then how did you apply that knowledge to then bringing it to Florida?
Well, we did a little bit of everything. We kind of looked at what's the best of the Legoland experiences. Like we have boating school behind us. It's an interactive ride where you drive a boat. There's no track. Where you steer is where you go. If you steer the wrong way, you got to figure out how to get turned around and get back to where you started from. But, so we took the best rides we knew that worked, boating school, driving school, the fire rescue academy. But then you also try and work with a site. We had some existing rides here. They're our first for Legoland parks. We have a wooden roller coaster, a suspended coaster. So a lot of those things that existed, we were able to re-theme and rebrand and put a layer of Lego theming on top of that, which kind of really makes this a very unique park.
Right, so you took the old Cypress Gardens park and made it into a brick-filled adventurous wonderland. How did you really approach that when you come here and you see the nature-filled Cypress Gardens? How do you transform that into what we see today as this colorful, plasticky, toy-filled area?
Well, the original Cypress Gardens are located to the side of us here. Those are still as they were. I mean, they're protected. They're a very important part of Florida history, so we preserved and really just enhanced what's there. And then everything else you see in the rest of the park is brand new. This is a 100% brand new theme park. Some of the buildings still exist, a few of the rides, but every square inch of this park was redone, remodeled, or built from scratch. And but the gardens are such an important part of the park that it really adds a lot of provenance. It's just very green. It's very lush. Even though you walk in, you feel like, oh, it's a brand new park, it still has the feeling of something that's been around for a very long time.
So as a designer, what now that you're walking through here, opening the park up, what do you find to be the most rewarding after moving through all the phases and seeing it come alive?
The most rewarding thing is seeing the kids here. You work so long in a vacuum of designing and building. There's stressful days, a lot of hard work. But the very first moment where the gates open, the children come running in, and they have that expression on their faces like, "Oh my gosh, look at this!" It's a very emotional moment, and couldn't be happier.
And design-wise, what are you most proud of?
Wow, a little bit of everything. I think the driving school building, that's a really fun one I liked a lot. It was the inspiration came from a Lego set called the 50th Anniversary Town Plan, where it was a reissue of a set that Lego first had produced in '55, came out in 2005, and it had like a gas station, a courthouse, and a movie theater, and I drew from that for a few of the buildings you see in the park.
That's very cool. I'm a Lego fan. I've been building them since I was very young. And obviously there's a lot of kids here and a lot of the rides are kid-oriented. But for people like me who are, I'm now 30 years old and I'm still a Lego fan, how did you keep that in mind when designing the park?
I'm a Lego fan myself. The dream job for me was the model builder because I collected and I built and I did everything I could with Lego bricks. So I had that eye towards that, knowing my friends, my colleagues, people I really care deeply about, are so involved in the Lego hobby. So it's very easy for me to say, hey, you want to come to this park? If you got young kids, it's a great place, and if you're a Lego fan, it's even better. Because, there are rides that the adults can enjoy as much as the kids, but it's just these large-scale Lego models, and more than anything else, Miniland. We use 30 million bricks in creating Miniland. It's one of the most beautiful ones we've had. It's the largest one we've ever had. We've added 2 new clusters that's never been seen before. Forever Florida, where it's the entire state of Florida, the shape and style, and it has all the different cities that everyone knows in Florida recreated in bricks. So we have the beautiful Art Deco Miami Beach hotels. We have the state capital of Tallahassee. We have St. Augustine, the oldest city in the world, and we have a brand new cluster also that's Pirates. So the first ever Lego historical cluster that's all about the world of pirates. So you can battle pirate ships and see the forts and the citizens fighting with the pirates here and there, and that's very unique.
One more question for you. Of course, we're in the theme park capital of the world here in Central Florida. When designing something like LEGOLAND Florida, how do you approach that in trying to not necessarily compete with the other parks, but set yourself apart from them?
We just have a different brand and we have a different identity that we've really worked on for several years, and we know who we are. With laser point accuracy, we are a different park. We know it, and that's how every aspect of design we do. We don't think about the other parks we do. We just try to make the best Legoland parks we can for our demographic, and I think we do it better than anybody else.
And there you go, from the designer of LEGOLAND Florida itself. Doesn't get any more right down to home about what they did to prepare to create this new theme park in Orlando. And I think that last bit is the most important, that it is the Lego park. It is the Lego brand. It is something totally different than anything else in Orlando. And after spending 2 full days there, 1, I'm very tired, but 2, I have a good idea for what exactly this park feels like and how it behaves, and how adults versus children, or versus adults with children, without children, really would or would not enjoy everything that is inside the park. So I thought I would just talk about in brief kind of what is available at Legoland, kind of hopping between a few of the attractions, just to give everybody a feel for what is there. And I think the most important thing that is worth noting about showing up to Legoland is the fact that since it is built in this former Cypress Gardens area, it's really an already grown-in area. It's not a whole bunch of concrete that you might think of, like if you go to Future World at Epcot. It is big, lush trees and waterways, and it is just a beautiful place. It feels like a park that has been there for decades, because it kind of is. It's sort of like this park was put into an area that has been there for decades and decades, and it's very well groomed, and it just looks nice. It feels like a hometown kind of park rather than a big corporate kind of park, which is nice. It has a really nice feeling that you could just sit there and enjoy it as a park, not necessarily only as a theme park. Of course, there is the theme, and that theme is Lego, and there's Lego just everywhere throughout the park. There's just incredible Lego sculptures to be found as you're walking around through the whole thing. And if you are a Lego fan, it really is the mecca for everything Lego. And the best way to see it all, and this is the first thing that I did when I entered into the park after all the grand opening festivities, was to check out a ride that has been there before, was there for Cypress Gardens, called Island in the Sky. It's this big round rotating thing that goes up on this arm, and it goes up, I think, 150 feet in the air, 120 feet in the air, something like that, and you get an overview of the entire park, and you can see all of the rides and the roller coasters and the mini land, which I'll talk about in a minute. Very, very impressive, and just get a sense of how much greenery is to be found amidst all of the Lego, the thousands and thousands of Lego bricks that are present throughout the park. So that's a good way to start off seeing it all when you first get there. Unfortunately, it is right there near the front of the park, which works out very well. Another moment as you kind of round the corner near the entrance toward the front of the park is a good example of what it feels like to be in this park without being completely overwhelmed by Lego, and that is this double-decker sort of two-story carousel that's just a beautiful kind of old-timey horse carousel. There's nothing Lego about it. It's just surrounded with trees, and it's just a nice sort of, like I said, home park kind of feeling, kind of ride. It's something that you can't really find exactly in this form in any other park in Central Florida. It's the closest thing I can relate to is when I visited Hershey Park up in Pennsylvania. It has that same sort of feel to it, that it's just a park you can, or somewhere you can go and just kind of sit down and enjoy. But once you get past this area, that is really when all of the Lego craziness sort of takes over. If you hang a right from that carousel, you're immediately thrust into kind of the really young kids area, the Lego Playtown with Duplo and oversized blocks, and that's when you really start to see the big Lego sculptures. In this case, there's a lot of animals and stuff oriented really towards small kids, and this is where you start to get a feel for, well, maybe Legoland is truly, as it's been said many times, aimed at small children. This area is really those kinds of rides that you find at the carnival, where it's these little cars that kind of just go in a circle very, very, very slowly, and they're definitely not rides that any adults would enjoy unless they're enjoying watching their kids enjoying them. And, it's kind of, this is where I have mixed feelings about Legoland in general. Is it's a park that is absolutely aimed at young children. And many of the rides, all the rides are aimed so that young children can ride them. Even the coasters, young children can ride them. None of them are really, vicious or fierce or anything like that. And as such, a lot of it can be thought of as, adults can't really enjoy it on their own. But that's not true entirely. And I'll get a bit more into that in a second. But moving on down the path from there is one of the most impressive areas of the park, and it is the Lego Kingdoms area, where they've built, we've got Cinderella Castle at Walt Disney World, we've got now Hogwarts Castle at Universal, and now Legoland has their own castle. But of course, it's Lego Castle, and it's lined with banners. It's very Renaissance sort of feel, and just big oversized blocks creating this whole castle environment that has face painting and foam sword fighting and a few more little carnival sort of rides, and it's this sort of immersive area where you can it's probably the best themed area of the whole park because it completely surrounds you, takes you out of the outside environment and puts you into this castle area formed by Legos, which is fun for any Lego fan. And inside is one of the best rides in the park, in my opinion, called the Dragon. It's a roller coaster, again, following this sort of medieval theme that actually takes you through a bit of a dark ride portion first, filled with these great Lego sculptures from, food, dining hall in a castle to a big dragon, and even kind of this creepy dungeon with these big Lego skeletons. It's a fun little dark ride portion before going on a very brief, maybe 30-second winding sort of kid-friendly roller coaster outside. So definitely one of the best rides in the park. Again, it's not a thrilling ride by any means, but it is a visually entertaining ride. Certainly very colorful and something that I enjoyed. And that's I haven't actually posted any of the pictures from this park yet because it's been so busy the last couple of days. I've got literally thousands of photos throughout the park. I've got hours of video that I haven't posted yet, either including that ride and a few of the others. So keep coming back to InsideTheMagic.net in the coming days as I get more and more in depth into Legoland. Right now I'm breezing through it as quickly as possible just to not sit here and talk about an entire new theme park for an hour. So anyway, moving on from there, beyond the castle walls is going to be kind of the adventure area of the park, and this is where it's Indiana Jones style adventure out in the desert, and that's where the dark ride of the park can be found. This is a Buzz Lightyear style interactive shooting dark ride called Lost Kingdom, I believe is the name of it. And this ride is created by the Sally Corporation, who that company's been around for quite a while. They're up in Jacksonville, and they worked on rides like E.T. over at Universal is one of their biggest rides that they've done that everybody would have recognized. And they've created this ride for Legoland in the past, for the one in California. And now they've created one for Legoland Florida as well. And while I was at Legoland on Friday, I had a chance to talk with John Wood, who is the chairman and CEO of Sally Corporation, and find out more about what went into the development of this interactive shooting dark ride. So I want to share his thoughts and his insight on this ride with you right now.
Sally first get involved with working with Legoland to develop these?
Well, our company has specialized in dark rides for parks around the world. They've proven to be very popular for a broad base of families and age groups. And Lego decided they wanted to do one in California. They came and talked to us, went through our factory. We started designing and working with their designers to create the attraction. And worked the numbers. They had a real tight budget, but that's typical Merlin and typical Lego. But we were able to get it down to their number, and then it became immediately one of the most popular rides in their park. They turned around and did one in England, and it became the most popular ride in that one. So for this one, we had to increase the capacity. This ride actually will get close to 1,000 people per hour if they are able to get their operation working the way it's supposed to. There are a couple of special things in the ride. One, with our laser targeting system, you have different point values. The yellow targets are worth $500, but $1,000 points, 1,000 points for the red targets. And there is a bonus 13,013 target in there. Just one, it's hidden, but it's there. My daughter got it twice.
Any hints?
It's a snake. There are quite a few snakes.
Right. Got to shoot them all.
You got to shoot them. And it's not necessarily the first target hit.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So, but I'm glad you enjoyed the ride. We built it in Jacksonville, Florida.
Oh, okay.
Not just right up the road. So we brought a group down today on a bus. They're waiting for me to go join them so we can head on back to Jacksonville.
How long did it take you to build right here?
This type of ride is usually a 6-month process from the date of the order to installation and operation. Ian Sargent actually placed the order with me and told me that we got the job for this job this time last year. So we put it ahead of the job we were already contracted to do in Malaysia. And we kind of took our time on it. We had plenty of time to get it done. But if we had to, we could do it in 6 months.
How many cars are actually on the track?
There are actually only 14 on it now, but there's 17, and they got 3 in storage. Until they really get it down, they probably won't put the other rides in.
Excellent. Well, it's a lot of fun. You anticipate tomorrow opening day this being a very popular ride here?
I do. I think it's going to be, it's just something everybody can enjoy. I enjoyed it. You enjoyed it. All of us have. Yep. And the kids have a big kick out of it. So I think they're very pleased with it.
Is that one of the reasons for the bigger targets so the kids have something easier to shoot at?
Yeah! Well, you think that these are easier than
like
some others?
Men in Black and...
Oh yeah, those are tough. They don't even have those. Men in Black, you don't even know what to shoot at. But there's sometimes that I've even wanted to make them bigger, to tell you the truth, because it can be tough to see them and shoot them as it is when you're moving through the park. But they receive it well. You know when you hit it. You not only get the points, but you have a different score. The light goes out. Animation takes place. We're trying to give all that feedback all the time when you're playing the game.
How many different rooms are in here?
I think we have 12 rooms, 12 scenes.
In working with LEGO to develop this initially, were they instrumental in the actual design of, scene by scene, or did you have a lot of input in that as well?
We had a lot of input in it, but they did too. We tried real hard to become the design builder, because that's what we do with most of our clients.
Right.
But they didn't want to do it that way. They wanted to make their design so they could go out and bid it to other people too. They did Bill Vollbrecht, who you may have met. Bill is the guy that was the art director on this project. At the time, he was a model maker in California. And he did the line sketches that became the concepts for the design of the ride. And it was his first step, if you would, into becoming a full-fledged designer instead of a model builder. And he's moved up to the next level since. So it was a good move for him. Talented guy. Very talented guy.
It shows. It's a fun ride.
Yeah, good. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
There you go. A bit about the special dark ride that is unique here in Orlando now at Legoland Florida. I had fun riding through it. It is definitely not quite up there with in terms of visuals. And interaction as the Men in Black ride, which was mentioned there briefly in the interview. But if you compare it to something like Buzz Lightyear over in Tomorrowland at the Magic Kingdom, I almost prefer the visuals that are presented in this Legoland dark ride because, well, I am a big Lego fan, so I'm a little biased there to see and shoot at all these Lego bits in the ride and see these characters from Lego kits, building kits, and there's this fun skeleton Lego band at one point, and when you shoot at things here, unlike at Buzz Lightyear where you just get points and a few little interactions here and there, this thing is totally interactive. So when you shoot things, almost everything does something, be it whether it lights up or moves or things come out or it blows air at you or this and that. There's a lot to interact with and a lot of funny scenes as well as you go through this ride. And for me, out of all of the rides at Legoland Florida, this is the one that I would want to ride over and over just to see all of the details that are in every single scene and really take it all in. It's something I think I rode it 3 times over the 2 days, and I definitely there's definitely a lot more to see out of that ride. It's a short ride, maybe only 2 or 3 minutes long, probably about 3 minutes long, but it is fun. Anyway, so I'll put all those photos and a full video of that ride and its interactions up soon as well. Moving on through the park, let's see how much more I can get through with naming some of my favorites. I can't name every single ride in this park because there are a lot of them, but a lot of them are really small. They're kind of the go in circles kiddie kind of rides, and I didn't really pay a lot of attention to those, but some of them were of note. In the same area as the castle and the Renaissance-y medieval feel, as I just mentioned, there's one that's kind of fun for kids, definitely a kids-only ride. It's a jousting ride where you sit on these sort of mechanical horses that go around in a circle or go around a track, and they sort of bounce up and down as you're sort of jousting with people, and they look like Lego horses, and nearby on the track are Lego characters that are triggered as you're you're going around, and it's a fun little ride for kids. But again, it is just for kids. Adults are not going to be able to enjoy this one whatsoever, other than seeing kids enjoying it. So that's kind of a disappointing aspect that you're going to go there and you're going to see great visuals, but as an adult, you're not necessarily going to be able to take part in those. Otherwise, down the road, there's a safari Lego adventure where you're in this Lego safari Jeep, and you see Lego animals from zebras to lions to giraffes and hippos and all kinds of things, and they interact and they growl and they move as you go by, and it's a very short ride that goes maybe a minute and a half or so in a small track. It's like the Lego version of Kilimanjaro Safaris over at Animal Kingdom, but much shorter and with Lego animals instead of regular ones. And of course, these Lego sculptures are very, very impressive. They've done an amazing job creating these creatures and everything throughout the park, all the sculptures out of Lego. But at the same time, it's disappointing. You can ride this as an adult, and I did. And again, there will be video and photos and all that online very soon of that. But it's one of those things that it's not quite up there and as enjoyable for adults. It really is totally targeted for kids. Fortunately, there are rides that were there before, inherited from Cypress Gardens, that are very enjoyable for adults, like the Coastersaurus, as it is now called. It's a wooden roller coaster, of which there are not nearly enough in Central Florida. There's a Gwazi over at Busch Gardens, which I'm not a big fan of. Coastersaurus actually ended up being really fun. It's not a super intense coaster by any means, because kids can definitely enjoy it, but it is a fun wooden coaster that doesn't bang you around too much, although at the end you should be careful. When they come into an abrupt stop, you could definitely hit your knees if you're an adult. But it's a ride that has been only given a mild Lego theme, and really for the most part it's just a wooden coaster, roller coaster that is enjoyable. There's also a 3D/4D theater there that has just almost endless rows. It's a huge theater of seats where you can see one of three, or you can watch all three, if they all fit into your schedule. 3D movies that have wind effects and some water and some snow and all kinds of in-theater effects that are kind of fun. Again, it's the theming inside and around all of these rides and all of that is not going to be overwhelmingly Lego. It is throughout the park, but once you get inside things, it kind of, it still feels like they inherited it from Cypress Gardens, and it's obvious that, maybe over time, as the park does well, they'll insert more Lego-ness to the decorations inside buildings, like this theater. But the movies, I saw 2 of the 3 3D movies, and there was one for the character of, I think it was called Clutch Powers, and he and his adventurous team went on this kind of hunt for this thing, whatever. It was kind of a fun movie, but the other movie that I saw was Lego Racers, and it was just bizarre. I would not recommend seeing the Lego Racers film at all. It was 10-15 minutes long, and it almost had nothing to do with Lego, and it was just a really weird, dialogue-free, music-only, strange, I don't know, it was just very, very odd. But they run a specific schedule, so you can look at the schedule and see which movie you're going to take in. Now, the most impressive part about Legoland Florida, and this is something I could go and just spend all day in, is called Miniland. And this is where, despite its name, that it's called Miniland, it is huge. It's Lego recreations of major cities across the United States, and as you heard earlier, when talking, I think it was to Bill, the designer of the park, he mentioned that Florida is included in Miniland this time for the first time ever, along with a Pirates area, which is the first time Lego has created in Lego form a part of Miniland that has to do with sort of a historical aspect. And it is just amazing to walk around this huge area that is just packed with detail after detail after detail of Las Vegas and Washington, D.C., and Florida, from Tampa to Miami Beach to Kennedy Space Center to Daytona, and just everything except the Orlando theme parks, which I'm sure they excluded on purpose, but and just New York and Hollywood, and it just seems like it's an endless visual feast to see all of these buildings that are familiar and recreated in Lego form. And you think, oh, it's a Lego form, it must be a building that's like a foot at the most. But some of these things are 3, 4, 5 feet, 10, 6 feet tall for big skyscrapers, and all surrounding everything are all these little scenes of people. And these are not like the Lego minifigs. They've created people in different poses, and they're getting married, and they're posing with Elvis, and they're seeing a little Darth Vader in front of Grauman's Chinese Theater in Hollywood, and just there's a seemingly endless supply of little tiny vignettes to see as you're walking around. I tried to photograph as many of them as I could as I walked through, and just kind of capture the feeling of what Miniland is all about. But literally, you could spend an entire day just looking at all the scenes in Miniland and seeing everything that has been created there, and all of the little funny moments, almost like a Where's Waldo, but in real life. And of course, you're not looking for Waldo, but rather just looking for anything that you could see. It's like real life captured in a moment and created in Lego form. There's even a mini golf course where it's a full golf course that's about 3 feet wide or so, that little people are playing, and there's some animation, and there are animations. There's buttons you can push and things trigger, and there's like the Mirage fountains and Treasure Island pirate boats shooting, and cars moving around seemingly on their own, creating traffic, and there's like a presidential motorcade, and just pirate ships blasting at each other. And it is just an unbelievable sight that if you're a Lego fan, this area of the park alone is worth visiting Legoland Florida for. Moving on from there, the themes continue. There's something called Imagination Land that I don't think is totally developed yet. There seem to be some empty areas of that building. I think there was supposed to be a restaurant in there that's not there yet, so that'll come over time. But this is where there's a lot more interaction, some racing opportunities where you can build your own little Lego car and then race them. There's giant Lego sculptures, like a I don't know, 10, 12 foot tall Albert Einstein that you can, of course, take a picture with and just see how the many thousands of Lego bricks managed to form that. And it's really an area to kind of express some creativity and build with Legos, of course, targeted at kids. There's also kind of this weird drop tower thing that you actually have to pull yourself up on a rope in order to get to the top, and then you let go, and then you drop down, and everybody seemed to be really enjoying it. So despite the fact that it's a very active sort of thing, it's one of the things that they said at the opening of Legoland, that they didn't want to create a passive environment. They wanted it to be different from other Orlando theme parks and other theme parks in general by creating a very interactive, kinetic environment in which everything you have to do something. You have to touch this or pull that or push a button or whatever it is, build Lego blocks, make them fall down, shake them around, create a race car and race it down a track. And it's a very active environment, again, with a lot of those interactions really, really focused on kids instead of adults. Moving on over into a Lego City. Actually, this is I think it's called the Technic area, themed up, Lego's line of those moving vehicle type of creation building kits. There's a ride that many call their favorite around Legolands around the world, called Water Racers, and it is just such a fun sight to see these sort of hover things going around in a circle as people are steering them in with steering wheels, and these giant geysers of water that are triggered by people pushing buttons on the outside pop up, and everybody's getting wet, and it's this giant pool of water, and it's just a very fun sight to see. One of the most fun sights to see, actually, in the whole area. Nearby is Lego City, in which there's something called Driving School, where they unleash a huge group of kids out into this Lego street and all these Lego cars that you can jump in and drive around and try to obey the stop signs and follow the lines. It is literally a Lego city for kids to drive through and get the driving experience totally on their own. No parents allowed in here. You're driving on your own, hopefully not colliding with too many people, too many other kids along the way. And it looked like all the kids were having a lot of fun, although I did see at least one a collision going on in there. But that's, it's bound to happen. And I found it very interesting in this area and some of the other drive-it-yourself experiences that there was very little instruction given. These are kids that are maybe 5 or 6 years old. Obviously, they don't drive. And yet they were just kind of like, okay, go. They didn't really say, well, you're going to want to put your foot on the pedal and do it gradually and control the steering wheel and be careful and obey the stop signs. No, there was no instruction at all. It was kind of just like, run out, grab a car, go to it, have fun. which was a little odd, but at the same time, the kids seem to be really, really enjoying it. There's another coaster that Legoland inherited from Cypress Gardens that they now call Flying School. It's a hanging coaster where you're sitting underneath the track, and despite the fact that it's a steel coaster, it is kind of rickety and shaky, and I was not a big fan of that ride much at all. But it's a ride. It's a roller coaster, and at least adults can go on that one, although the loading process was very, very slow for it. I'm sure that's something that will be improved over time. There's also a boating school, along with driving school and flight school. There's also a boating school where you can drive your own little boats completely track-free, which was an interesting experience. A lot of kids were driving in circles and going the wrong way and running into walls, and again, with very little instruction. But anyway, it looked like, it was kind of a fun. And there's Lego things all over the place, little Lego rats squirting water and Lego boaters and crew members and dock attendants and things like that as you're driving through along the boats. So then there used to be a ski show at Cypress Gardens, which has now been transformed for Legoland into a Brickbeard, not Blackbeard, but Brickbeard Pirates ski show, which I watched and I sat through and I kind of wish I didn't. It's a very bizarre show. It's fun to see the Lego, big, tall, 5-foot-tall Lego characters, the sort of minifig, big yellow head characters walking around and actually on the water skiing around on jet skis and on water skis, and it's all themed, with a pirates theme, and there's a heroine, and then there's Brickbeard, who's the villain of the whole thing, and there's a giant Lego pirate ship, and of course there are ski stunts out on the water. But despite all of that sounding really entertaining, it was just a really odd show. They kept exclaiming repeatedly, "Pirates! Pirates!" like over and over and over and over and over while the ski stuff was going on. And that's, I don't know, I guess it's the same mentality that I guess if you watch, a show that's aimed at like 3-year-olds on TV and they keep repeating the same thing over and over to try to get it to sink in that they're pirates. But anyway, I mean, the show is like everything else, most other things at Legoland, it is targeted toward young children. So I would not necessarily recommend seeing the ski show, but you might enjoy it. I don't know. Cypress Gardens still is kind of there. It's not everything it once was, but the gardens are there. And, the old Southern Bells, the people that used to walk around Cypress Gardens are now replaced by Lego versions of the bells, but it makes for a great photo op. And, it's a very pretty area that you can walk around and get away mostly from the Lego environment and just enjoy kind of the natural aspect of what Cypress Gardens was before Legoland moved in. And that, in a nutshell, is what Legoland Florida is all about. It's it's a park that I spent, as I said, 2 full days at, and I'm kind of done with at the moment. I don't plan on getting an annual pass. I don't see myself going back in the near future. Maybe when they add something new to it, I will go back. If they do, of course, go with a water park and a hotel, like I said, I will go back. But you could definitely, under normal circumstances, hit that park in one day. I took 2 full days because I was, video and taking pictures of everything there was to see, but for a normal pace, you could easily come and go in Legoland in one day and see all that you wanted to see. And as an adult without children, unless you're a really big Lego fan, you probably won't enjoy a trip to Legoland. If you are a big Lego fan, however, like I am, like as obvious from those who are watching the video version of the show, and you see all of my Lego stuff, and I didn't get all this stuff at Legoland. I had this stuff behind me right now, which is a big Lego head and a Lego guy, and this Lego bag over here. I have endless amounts of Legos here at home because I love Legos. I've been playing with them for years and years. So for me going to Legoland, it was wonderful. I thought seeing Miniland was just an amazing sight. But for somebody who is not a Lego fan, the average guest, I'm not sure I would recommend a trip to Legoland unless you have children. Children will love this place. It is geared toward children, and there are so many interactive experiences to enjoy throughout the park, and so many visuals, bright colors everywhere that it's hard for, it would be almost impossible for a kid not to have fun at this park. Now, I will say that there was something, one particular aspect of it that I was not too thrilled with, and that was the food. I went to the pasta and pizza buffet, which consisted of, well, it had pasta and it had pizza and it had some salad, and all of it was cold and kind of unflavorful and chewy, and the salad was turning brown, and these are things I hope they will fix over time, but I've heard that the pizza and pasta is not so good in other Legoland parks as well, so not a good option for $11 for adults. I would have wanted my money back because the food was really, really not good. Fortunately, I did also have some food over near the front of the park in a place called the Market, which was a rotisserie chicken and some roasted potatoes, and they had some Asian fusion offerings, as they're calling it, and some other salad and soup there, which I didn't try, but the rotisserie chicken was good. And out of what I ate between the buffet and this place, I would say absolutely go for the rotisserie chicken over the pizza and pasta. Even if it costs you more, or it doesn't matter what it costs, just don't go for that pizza and pasta. It was just downright bad. I haven't had food that bad in a theme park in quite some time. But fortunately, the rotisserie chicken was a little bit better. There's also a treat that is common to all Legoland parks called apple fries, which is this interesting sort of. It's apple, but it's fried, and it's like a mixture between a churro and an apple pie, but in a French fry kind of form. It's actually very good, and it's not as heavy as it sounds. It comes with some whipped cream to dip it in, and I actually had it for breakfast yesterday, and I couldn't finish the whole thing by any means, but for the bites that I had, it was quite good. It's a good treat that's kind of Legoland's version of whatever the treat is at Disney or the Butterbeer at Universal or whatever. This is the thing you get when you go to Legoland, and I enjoyed that. But the pasta and pizza was so bad that it has overshadowed all of the reasonably good food that I had there, so I'm just kind of hung up on that note. Avoid that pasta and pizza at all costs. But anyway, moving on to better things. There's certainly there's characters as I've said in the shows, but there's characters to meet and greet and take pictures with out in the streets of Legoland. Big oversized Lego minifigs that are full walking versions that you can take pictures with, and some other Lego characters as well that are fun to see. That you might even not really understand totally what they are. That you probably vaguely remember seeing them from some Lego kit at some point, but everybody seemed to be having fun taking pictures with them, so there are photo opportunities scheduled throughout the day. And there's, of course, plenty of Lego merchandise, just an endless supply of Lego kits and little dolls and shirts and hats and keychains and lights and just anything you can possibly imagine that Lego has ever sold is going to be there, and you will find it through the big store at the front of the park is really where the majority of items are to be found. They had some grand opening merchandise, a very limited amount, and I wasn't really too fond of the design, but for the most part, just the regular shirts and merchandise and everything is there for the taking, for the buying, really. And you don't necessarily have to go to Legoland to buy these Lego kits. You can go to Toys R Us or whatever toy store, go on Amazon, go wherever, and you might even find them cheaper elsewhere. Not that the prices at Legoland were overpriced, but it's hard to say no to a kid who's been at Legoland all day long and now wants to leave with a new Lego building kit because the store was very, very crowded at the end of the day on grand opening day. Another little fun tidbit that you can do while walking around Legoland is their version of Disney pin trading, but rather it is minifig trading. All of the employees of Legoland on their name tags have the little minifigs, and they have the ones that they have customized for themselves. Those of you watching the video version of the show, you're looking at the park designers name tag now, which is a little artist guy, and it all fits in whatever they feel that most represents them as a Lego. But if you have your own minifig, you can walk up to any employee throughout the park and trade with them, and then they'll put yours on their name tag, or they'll put it in their pocket and pull one of their other ones out, and you can walk away with some really unique and fun versions of it. And then, of course, there are areas in the park where you can go and build and buy your own minifigs as well. So. Anyway, to wrap all of this up, Legoland, distance from Orlando. If you're coming to Orlando trip, as I said earlier, it's not horrible. A little less than an hour from Walt Disney World, maybe an hour depending on traffic and where you're coming from. Definitely from Universal, it'll be at least an hour to get there, which sounds like a long time, especially if you have screaming kids in the car. But it's a drive that's a little weird because it's kind of rural along the way. But once you get there, you sort of forget about the drive and you enjoy it. An hour is long, but it's not horribly long, and it's closer than Tampa, actually. So if you're going to go to Busch Gardens, this is going to be closer than that from Orlando. And of course, Tampa to Winter Haven is closer than Tampa to Orlando. You're not going to find anything else to do in Winter Haven, though. You're going to go out there to go to Legoland, and then you're going to come back. You're not going to find a single other thing to do while you're out there. So that's got to be your primary reason for going all the way over there. And as far as the price to get in and whether or not you should buy an annual pass or go for more than one day, well, in my opinion, as I said, one day should be sufficient to really see all of it. I was there on grand opening day, and it wasn't even terribly crowded. I mean, it was reasonably crowded, but it wasn't like wall-to-wall people. And I imagine that when summer hits, when the Christmas season hits, it might be a little bit busier. I'm sure they're hoping it's going to be busier. This is a downtime of the year, and that's why they've opened now. So over the summer, I'm sure it will get more crowded. And when it does get more crowded, the lines will get very long for the bigger rides, the roller coasters, etc. I waited about 40 minutes or so to ride Coastersaurus at one point. So the lines can definitely get long for those sorts of things. But for the most part, you're not going to really find too much of a problem if you just go for one single day, and if you take your kids, you'll definitely enjoy the visit. But again, I know I've said this 20 times already, but again, for just adults traveling, if you're a Lego fan like I am, you will enjoy Legoland Florida. If you're not a Lego fan, it's hard to say if you'll really enjoy a full visit there. But it's worth sampling. If you're just a theme park fan in general and you want to see something different than the usual parks, Disney, Universal, SeaWorld, etc., it's worth heading down to Winter Haven to check it out. So that's it for Legoland for now, till the next big thing opens, but I do have plenty to post. As I said, thousands of photos, hours of video, and I got to sift through it all in the coming days. So look for it over at InsideTheMagic.net sometime, in the next few days. I'll kind of trickle it out if you want to see much more from the now open Legoland Florida.
Hi, Ricky. Hi, Ricky.
Hey, Ricky.
Hi, Ricky.
Hi, Ricky.
Hey, Ricky.
Ricky, this is amazing.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls.
Inside the Magic listener feedback.
And it has been a couple of weeks since we did listener feedback. I was tempted to hold it once again since we're about an hour and a half for this show, but I just can only hold all these emails. They got to get answered for so long. So let's jump right into them actually this week. First up is an email from a couple of weeks ago from Ben, who writes, I watched, I guess I had mentioned that I hadn't seen Pan Am, ABC's show, and didn't have any thoughts on it. So Ben wrote in and said, I watched Pan Am last night after coming home from seeing The Lion King in 3D and really enjoyed Pan Am. The writing is good. It really transports you to a time when flying was an event. No TSA agents, and everyone gets to keep their shoes on. The characters are easy to believe, and they were a few they got me surprises as well. I rarely get sucked into a new show, but I'm looking forward to this one. So at least one person out there likes Pan Am. Of course, the show is still on the air. I think there's probably a new episode tonight or sometime soon. So perhaps many more of you are watching Disney/ABC's new show. I personally have not tuned in and don't really plan on it, but sounds like it probably is a good show. Thanks, Ben. Next up, an email from Dane. And Dane writes, I'm a longtime listener. Love your show. I think you're doing great things to bring the magic of Disney to so many of us on a weekly basis. Just wanted to chime in on Avatar. I'm not sure why many are so adamant that this is not a good fit for Disney. It is a perfect fit. Avatar has worldwide recognition and appeal, and the setting of Pandora already looks like a theme park. Who wouldn't want to come? Who wouldn't want to roam through its beautiful jungle, go for a ride on a mighty winged beast, or be transported to its flying mountains in a futuristic aircraft? The direction Disney has taken under Bob Iger has been right so far. I give you California Adventure, Disney World Fantasyland, the acquisition of Marvel, D23, and on and on. Why would anybody bet against the recent role of the company that the company has been on? Avatar Disney will be a huge success. And I cannot wait to see what the amazing minds in these two organizations can do when they put their collective heads together. Some good thoughts there about Avatar. I've actually got another email. That one was from a couple of weeks ago, as many of these are, but then I got a recent email from Chris, who wrote, trying to catch up on podcasts and just heard about Avatar Land. I just have one thing to say. California Adventure. An entire park that was not themed around Disney animated characters. What happened? Well, nothing. I thought it to be a half-day park. Attendance was never great. I just don't see it fitting with Animal Kingdom, and it does not feel Disney-like. I hope they stop before another disaster occurs and costs us more in regards to tickets to try and fix it. So two very conflicting thoughts there on Avatar. Dane obviously really thinks it's a good idea. Chris thinks it's a very bad idea, comparing it to California Adventure having very little Disney, and that's, of course, Avatar's not Disney at all. So I'm still very much up in the air until I see their specific plans as to what they're doing with this Pandora section, what exactly is going in there. I don't really have an opinion. I think it could work. I think it could be a fun area, but then again, I'm not really too much of a fan of the Avatar movie, so just have to continue to wait and see. And with that said, let's go over to a voice message from Robert.
Yeah, hi, my name is Robert Merolda. I live in New York. I go to Disney a lot of times. I just really found your podcast on YouTube and stuff. I watch it on YouTube at work. I think it's really good. Just want to let you know that. I just found it recently, and I think the shows are really good. Keep up the good work. I just got two quick questions. Maybe you could look into. Me and a bunch of guys from work, we go every year. I go every year. A couple of different guys go every year. The two questions are, a lot of guys ask me, anything with Epcot. Is Epcot ever going to add in the future or near future or further future? Are they going to ever add any more countries? Some guys at work say they hear rumors that they might add a couple more countries. I see some stuff on the internet and stuff. But I don't know. So maybe you would know that. And my other question for you is all the stuff going on in Animal Kingdom, where you were just trying to figure out, is there any announcement of what area of Animal Kingdom it's going in? Is it going where Mickey's campgrounds is, I guess, in that area? Is it going to go in back of where the safari is? Is it going to go on the side where Mount Everest is? Just thought maybe if you knew that too. And another question is, a lot of rumors on the internet that they're going to be opening a new park down there, Disney. There's all different things. Some people are saying adult park. Do you ever see them open a fifth park or anything like that? Fifth park, or even have the good room. I don't know what the room, how many acres they own that they're not built on. I heard there are a lot, but I don't know if they're good acres where they can build. That's all, and I'll listen to your show this weekend. Thank you, bye.
All right, thanks, Robert, for the many questions during your voicemail. Very good questions, actually. First, to answer about Epcot and adding another country, there have been very strong rumors about Brazil possibly being added as a country to Epcot, but no announcements at this point. It was a few months ago that it was known that Disney was down in Brazil talking with some of their government about the possibility of bringing it to Epcot. But again, no announcements at this point. We'll just have to wait and see if or when Disney decides to move forward on that or any other country. So no plans at the moment for sure. As far as Avatar, which we were just talking about, for Animal Kingdom, a great question as to where it's going. Very few details are known or even decided on in Disney's end. They're still very much in the blue sky phase, which means they're still deciding exactly what you're asking about. Yes, it could take over Camp Mini Mickey. It could go by Everest. There's a plot of land kind of off back in that area of the park where it could potentially go. It could take over another part of the park, maybe move into a less popular area of Dino Land. Who knows? It's very hard to say. I'm sure they're considering many different options for where Pandora will show up, and so again, nothing to report on there. Finally, a fifth park for Walt Disney World, another rumor that's been around for many, many years. Yes, the rumor of an adults-only or adult-oriented park, maybe a nighttime park or a villains park or a party park or any number of other options have been considered over the years. I know Disney has, definitely talked about them within, again, blue sky ideas and that kind of thing. But again, nothing for sure. Definitely no announcements there, and I don't anticipate a fifth major theme park being added to Walt Disney World anytime anytime soon. With Fantasyland going on and certainly Avatar being added to Animal Kingdom, I can't imagine they're going to go out and build an entire new theme park anytime soon. So, unfortunately, the answers to your questions are basically no, I don't know, and no. But there it is for now, and thanks very much for the call. Next, an email from Beatrice who writes, I wanted to know how many tickets are sold for Mickey's Halloween party at Disneyland. In other words, how many are sold until the party is sold out? Beatrice, unfortunately, Disney does not release those numbers ever. They don't really talk about capacity or number of tickets sold or any of that kind of thing, so I really could not say. I know that for these after-hour hard-ticketed events, they sell fewer tickets than the daytime park because that's kind of the point. They want a reduced crowd to be able to enjoy more in a shorter amount of time and really be able to get on attractions and enjoy all the meet and greets and the candy and all of that without such a wall-to-wall people kind of feeling as it can often be during the day. With that said, they still sell a lot of tickets. So on a sold-out night at that event, it is going to still feel crowded. Not as crowded as a capacity day in the park, during the day, but it's still going to be a rather crowded night if you've heard that it is sold out. And now let's go back to the voicemail for a message from Haley.
Hi there, Ricky. This is Haley DuBois, all the way from Virginia. All the way up there. So I want to say I really enjoy your show, Inside the Magic. It really helped my family on their trip to Disney World during spring break, and also with the help of the Enchanted Tiki Room fire right after we left. That was also a helpful note. Really enjoyed your coverage on the Little Mermaid ride and Star Tours. And most importantly, I just love your show, period. But I am confused because I have a question. What happened to the Main Street Gazette? I really enjoyed that, and I want to know what the heck happened. I don't know if it's not coming in, or I'm just not too sure. So I'm just wondering if you're ever going to do any more Main Street Gazette stories, because I really enjoyed listening to those. So I really enjoy the show. Keep up the good work, and I'll keep listening. Bye-bye, Ricky.
Well, thanks very much for the kind words. Glad you enjoyed the show and all the coverage of the various events that you just mentioned. However, you said you were confused, and yeah, it sounds like you definitely are, because I have no idea what the Main Street Gazette is. It's not something we've ever done here on Inside the Magic. So, like many who listen to a lot of Disney podcasts, there are certainly many, many others besides Inside the Magic out there. Perhaps you've got us a little bit confused with another show that is out there. So, yeah, that's my answer. I don't know what the Main Street Gazette is, but it sounds fun, whatever it was. Thanks for the call. Next up, an email from Dan and Catherine in Connecticut, who write, first, I'd like to just say how much we love listening to your podcast every week, and all the tips and news certainly helped us when we went down to Walt Disney World in August. I know how much of a Haunted Mansion fan you are, so maybe you'll be able to help me with this. When will they bring Haunted Mansion Holiday to Disney World? I was fortunate enough to see it in Disneyland with my marching band a couple of years ago and absolutely loved it. It's a great addition during the holidays, and it's amazing they only have it in Disneyland. Do you have any insight as to why they won't bring it to Florida? P.S. Here's a tip. If you're a college student wanting to go down to Walt Disney World, plan a year ahead and take advantage of Disney's payment plan. You only have 45 days, until 45 days prior to your arrival date to pay it all off, so pay in small increments. And when you actually go, you're not completely broke, which is always a good thing. Well, Dan and Catherine, thanks very much for the email. Actually, see, this is what happens when I hold emails for a couple of weeks. Actually, I think I answered your question on either last week's show or the week before, whenever it was that I talked about the Room for One More event and the Tricker meetup. Imagineer Jason Sorrell was actually asked that very question during the Q&A at the Magic Kingdom about Haunted Mansion Holiday, and he kind of confirmed what everybody thought in that in Florida, it's mostly tourists that go to the parks, not locals, and as such, they think that the regular Haunted Mansion is what everybody wants to see, not Haunted Mansion Holiday, so they just leave it alone, and that's where it is, and there are no plans that they're at least willing to talk about to bring Haunted Mansion Holiday here. So that is the answer to that, and good tip about the payment plan for a trip. If you don't have the money all at once, enjoy the payment plan, pay a little by little, and then when it comes to be time, hopefully you got some extra cash to buy some good food and some merchandise once you get here. So, thanks for the email. Here's an interesting one that just came in a couple of days ago. Andrew writes, I have a very faint memory of a ride at Disney World from, let's say, 10 years ago. We've been to Walt Disney World probably about 20 times, but I only went on this ride once a long time ago. Now that I'm older, I'm wondering what it was since, well, the memory is very faint. All I remember is there was this very slow ride. It was dark, and we were moving backwards down a tunnel, looking at scenes to our right and left. I've done some research and found this to be similar to Spaceship Earth. Do you think that could be possible? Andrew, that's the first thing that came to mind when you did that description. The descent that is currently in Spaceship Earth, when you're coming backwards down from the top of the ride, currently it's all focused on a video screen in your vehicle. There are no scenes around you. But before that, before the current version, there were definitely scenes on your left and on your right, and you were going down a dark area just like you described, and you were going backwards, and that's got to be what you were thinking of, but it's not the current version of the ride, unfortunately. Many enjoyed the previous versions better. You saw a virtual classroom on your left and some other scenes up on the right that had various uses of future technology, being able to video communicate in the future and things like that. Of course, the technologies they were showing off in some of those scenes now exist. Just something as simple as an iPhone or an iPad or any number of what I do here right now. It's podcasting and people are watching me live. It all exists now. So to have that in the ride seemed no longer like future technology, which is, I'm sure, why they changed it. But so anyway, to answer your question, I do believe Spaceship Earth is what you are thinking of, just not the current version of that attraction. And now we've got another voicemail. This one is from Ron.
Hi, Ricky. This is Ron. I'm from Kentucky, and I'm calling to tell you that I've been listening to your podcast about the 40th anniversary with the actual live recordings of the ceremony, and it just kind of came to me that I listen to a lot of different podcasts, and I enjoy a lot of them. Some of them are like the 60 Minutes version of or Face the Nation version of Disney World or Disney podcasts. And others are like the primetime entertainment of Disney podcasts. But your podcast, kind of like the evening news of podcasts. It's like an actual on-the-spot reporting. It actually takes us there live sometimes, or takes us there on recordings. And it really, really keeps us up to date, and it helps me feel like I'm not missing out on the magic much, because you're there and you record it, and we can see it and see what happened. It goes for anything that happens in Walt Disney World. Some of the things you recorded from Disneyland, the D23 Expo, both the video and the audio on your podcast and on your website. And I just wanted to let you know, I appreciate you doing the news coverage and being our local news for the Disney podcast. So I just wanted to say thanks. See you later. Bye.
Well, thank you very much for that message. It's an interesting comparison, and it's not all that inaccurate. It is kind of what we try to do here, and certainly try to be out there and cover everything that we can, much in the same way that the local news does. I hope to be less sensational than a lot of local news does. Over the years of doing this, I've gotten to know a lot of the local news personalities here in Orlando, and they're very, very nice people, but they operate on a very different methodology than we do here. Of course, they have editors and assignments and go where they're told and have to cover kind of the not-so-great news all the time. And I enjoy covering the entertainment aspect of the whole thing, but at the same time covering it from a perspective that, we bring you there and show you exactly what's going on and the highlights and all of that. So, I don't want to be so much a documentarian about what's going on as an actual, we cover it and I give you my thoughts and opinions in addition to bringing you there and taking you, like you said, to the audio and the video and all of that. So I'm glad you enjoy it, and the comparison to the local news, as long as you're talking about the good reporting that's well thought out and isn't sensationalized, then I will take it. It sounds like a good one. Thanks. Couple more emails and we will wrap this up. Next email from Brent, who writes, I love your podcast and download it most every week. Have a suggestion. I don't know how difficult it is to do this, but some podcasts I have chapters, and the listeners can go to a screen that breaks the podcast down into sections. You can press the part of the podcast you want to listen to. Even without that, it is still a great podcast. Well, Brent, it's something that we used to do quite a while ago, split it up into chapters and have artwork to go along with it, and it just ended up being a lot of extra work that we didn't have time for anymore. And we also have to release a completely separate version for those who can use the enhanced version of the show versus those who can't. We have to encode 2 totally different files. And now I'm doing a video version of the show as well. And then it would be 3 versions. And unfortunately, it's just more than I can handle basically at the moment. So if you want to be able to jump around in the show, I don't offer a better solution than just kind of going click. Oh, no, not yet. Move a little further. Oh, no, got to go back a little bit and just kind of bounce around until you find the spot that you want to listen to. So no chapters in the foreseeable future. Sorry. Next is John, who writes in, I have a question about Animal Kingdom's Expedition Everest. I traveled there last year, and the Yeti was broken / not there on my ride. Do you go fairly often and know if the Yeti is fixed yet? Well, John, yeah, that's been a plaguing problem. The Yeti has been having some issues for quite a while now. He is not totally up to par yet. He's there. He's not missing, as he was briefly when they were trying to put some kind of fix on him, but he is not in the best of shape. You can still see him, but he's kind of strobing and not really doing a whole lot. And, he's there, but he's not what he was once hyped to be, unfortunately. Last email's from Frank, who writes, we are annual pass holders within the past year, and were hit pretty hard by this economy. I was just wondering why so many people are down or stick their noses up to the hotels in downtown Disney. Sure, they're not the coolest hotels, but for the price and what we use them for, they're such a fantastic bargain. And they're in walking distance to downtown Disney. We stayed at the Best Western, and I have to say we were pleasantly surprised. Very nice rooms and very helpful staff. If you're looking for a place to sleep and take a shower and not spend too much money, then give the hotels at downtown Disney a look. The prices were so cheap, and we were able to stay an extra day, which made our children's birthdays all the more fun. Just something for those Disney fans out there counting their pennies. Frank, great, thing worth mentioning there. Great tip. I've been out to Disneyland and not stayed at the Disney hotels every time, and I think it's the ones out there in California and the area hotels are not, they're on a different level downward from the Disney hotels, whereas out here, you're absolutely right, the downtown Disney area hotels are actually quite nice, some of them. The Holiday Inn over there got a remodel a couple of years ago, and the rooms there are wonderful, and they've got a lot of amenities, and as you said, kind of walking distance to downtown Disney, a lot of transportation around. You can walk over and use Disney's buses even, so definitely another alternative to consider than booking with only the Walt Disney World Disney hotels. And that's it for your listener feedback this week, as we are now finally all caught up. Of course, if you have any questions or comments or want to call anything in or write it in, definitely welcome, and I'll stay on top of it as much as possible. You can write into Ricky at InsideTheMagic.net, use the contact form on the website, or call the voicemail line 407-494-4ITM to make any comments on anything, and I'll be happy to share it here at the end of the show. So again, that's it for this week for listener feedback.
There's a great, big, beautiful tomorrow.
And that about wraps up another edition of Inside the Magic Show 341, another extra long show. We're getting closer and closer to 2 hours by the second here, so let's wrap this up. I talked about LEGOLAND Florida, of course, for longer than I had anticipated, but I had plenty to say, and there's still much more to say about it as well, to write about it, to show off from the park. It's a fairly good-sized park that I did many laps around, trying to take it all in and really get a feel for it, and I'll be posting more thoughts and plenty of pictures and video over at InsideTheMagic.net in the coming days, so you can check those out if you want to see more from that park. Of course, as I said earlier and reviewed, Pirates of the Caribbean on Stranger Tides coming out, hitting home this coming Tuesday. If you want to pick that up, then you could also support the show at the same time by clicking through it as a featured item this week and in this week's show. And, so that's it for Pirates. I also want to mention real quick again, Podcast Awards were nominated for Best Produced and Best travel. And your votes every day between now and October 27th are very much appreciated over at podcastawards.com. Of course, you can vote for many other shows while you're there. You're just going to want to submit your votes once per day. And if you do think we are worthy of your votes, Best Produced and Best Travel is where you're going to want to submit them at, again, at podcastawards.com once per day. I do want to thank Magical Travel for sponsoring this week's episode of Inside the Magic. You can find out more about their services by visiting magicaltravel.com. And also, if you enjoy podcasts, which you obviously do because you're listening to this show, you're going to enjoy Audible, and you can get a free trial over at audibletrial.com/InsideTheMagic. Have access to over 85,000 titles and get a free audiobook download as well. And for every sign-up, we get a little support from Audible as well. So appreciate it for that. Visit us over at lanyardlab.com to see all of the styles of custom lanyards we have available and request a price quote. And once again, head on over to InsideTheMagic.net between episodes of this show to get all of the latest Disney and theme park fun. So that's about it. Thanks to all of you for listening and watching each and every week. Have a magical week. Bye.
Beautiful tomorrow, shining at the end of every day. There's a great big beautiful tomorrow, just a dream away.